here in Moscow, Russia. I came here to publicize my book and to oversee the translation of it. And I did an interview with Channel 1. And
which is a Russian TV channel.
And Channel 1 is sanctioned, apparently. And apparently that was, I was here for vacation, so I had packed literally for 5 days. Didn't have much with me. And then about midway through, I started getting, messages that I was from former intelligence. They were trying to get me messages, whistleblowers, like, look, you're in danger of being indicted if you go back. I talked to my lawyers about it.
Indicted for what?
For FARA, the Foreign Registration Act, which is the same thing they went after Maria Butina for.
And Paul Manafort.
And Maria Butina, if you read, there's a really good article called The Spy Who Wasn't, who really lays out why she wasn't a spy, and she wasn't. She's now working for the State Duma, but she was definitely targeted. But that set the precedent, Paul Manafort in her case.
But wait, just to be clear, you're an American who has accused the sitting president of sexually assaulting you while you worked for him as a young woman. And you have evidence to prove that that's true.
Right.
Contemporaneous evidence, which I think is key. And all of a sudden, you're the criminal because you wind up in a foreign city and you do a TV interview. Am I missing something?
Well, in 2019, if you recall, one of the smears that they made against me was that I was a Russian asset, even though I had no ties to Russia. Immediately out the gate. That was the Biden campaign told that to the New York Times. They said that was their first response. Not a denial, not, anything else. They said, oh, she's a Russian asset. And that started in 2019 and got spread around. And then it continued on and had a life of its own because it was spread by former Obama staff, Edward Isaac Dovere, people like that, who have some clout on social media and people listen. Fortunately, there was that kind of overhanging it. So when I came to Moscow... So
you make this allegation against the president of the United States, then a candidate, a credible allegation, once again. I wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't think it was credible. I think it is credible. I think it's true. And they don't even respond. They just accuse you of being a traitor to your country.
Immediately. That was the first response, not even a denial at first. So I thought that was interesting.
And the media amplify this.
Oh, yes. New York Times amplified it. Washington Post did. Everyone did. Politico, they did their due diligence for the empire, I guess. I didn't really understand the media at that time. Now, you have to understand, I'm a regular citizen. I don't have a PR team. I don't have lawyers. Now I have a lawyer, but then I didn't have resources.
Where were you living?
I was living in California, and I was really naive about, the media. And now I understand. I think a lot of people in 2019, 2020 were still a little naive.
Just to be clear, it sounds like you've been a fairly liberal Democrat your whole life. I keep stepping on your story, and I'm sorry. Okay. It's just a remarkable story when you lay it out and give the timeline. It's amazing what's happened to you. So just back to where you were before I interrupted you. So you're here on vacation to get a translation of your book done.
Yes. And
you do an interview with local TV, and then you start getting messages from informed people who you trust. Tara, you're in danger of being indicted. And what happens then?
Well, I would be put into a cage because with the FAR Act, it's a backdoor into the Espionage Act, essentially. It's the Federal Registration Act. So you have to register as a foreign agent. Registration Act. Yeah. It's administrative. They never used to even use it, but now they're using it as a backdoor into espionage. So you might recall the Uhuru Group, right?
Very well.
The
black nationalists that we defended.
Right. They're being sentenced this month up to 10 years in prison. And I've read through all their whole legal case, and, I have a law degree, so I'm interested in those things. And you know what the charge is? Sowing discord. So I want people to really hear this, because sowing discord shouldn't be a crime, and they shouldn't be able, but they're being
sowing discord?
Sowing discord. That's the term under the FAR Act and the backdoor into the Espionage Act. And so they're facing up to 10 years in prison or more. Their passports have been taken away. The sentencing happens this month. They have no ties to Russia. They simply spoke out against the proxy war against, Russia via Ukraine. And for that, they've been punished. And what I want people to hear is that it's not just January 6th people that are being targeted by the DOJ.
No.
It's to the left. It's to the right.
That's right.
It's someone like me that just had a claim against my former employer that should have been investigated properly and should have been adjudicated in a proper way. And I should have been treated with some dignity instead of having my life torn to pieces.
So again, back to the story. You're in Moscow, where we are now, and you hear that you could be indicted or punished under the Foreign Agent Registration Act for giving this interview with a local TV station. And what do? How do you respond? Well,
I wanted to look at all the data points. I'm not an impulsive person. I like to think, and I didn't have a lot of time. I mean, I had to make this in a 48-hour window, right? And so this was a lot of pressure, but I did. I took the time. I talked to my daughter for hours. I talked to my lawyer. I got more data points of other people who had opinions that were educated. And then I talked to Matt Gaetz. And I am forever grateful that he took my call. And he was, I want to give him some credit here.
The congressman from Florida.
Yeah, because I was supposed to go the first week of June and walk with him on the Senate floor to get my Senate thing opened. And I wanted to do that. And he didn't advise me, I should rephrase that. He gave me information. He basically just said, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your personal safety. And you're good where you are, that kind of thing. And he just said he knew how those people operated. And so he was concerned about me.
Those people being employees of the U.S. government.
Right. And he sits on the Intelligence Committee. So when a U.S. congressman tells you something like in his death.
Seth Rich. Right.
Seth Rich, yeah. Seth Rich.
So yeah. What I find so compelling and shocking about your story is that I still don't understand what you did wrong.
In their eyes, they see me as somehow being a traitorous, is the words that they use. I think in the USA Today, there was a former CIA agent who gave a quote saying that my thoughts about America made him viscerally angry. Because I was talking about inflation. I was talking about the fact that there's 600,000 homeless. I was talking about the fact, I'm involved with geopolitics. I have a law degree. I'm interested in it.
So but you're an American. You spent your whole life in the United States. Mm-hmm. You worked for the sitting president.
Yeah.
Who you say sexually assaulted you.
Yeah.
You're upset about the state of our economy.
Yeah.
How does that make you a traitor?
Apparently it does. And apparently my views about the proxy war against Russia via Ukraine. And in 2019, I had said, and this is true, that if Joe Biden was elected, that he would go to war with Russia.
You were right.
Yeah.
So just to bottom line, the path that you took for people who are hearing this for the first time, you decided you could not come home after that.
I decided then I had to figure out, well, what does one do? Because you can't just decide to stay in a country without proper paperwork and a visa, right? You can't just I'm just going to hang out
That
here.
would make you a stateless person.
Yes. So I reached out, and I'm forever grateful to Maria Butina, because Masha helped me, and she helped me with the process of which I did. And it took a few weeks. Only 10% of those cases get accepted. But they do their due diligence.
We have a supposedly free media in the United States as a backstop against a check against government overreach, too much power in the hands of too few. And so it's supposed to be a self-correcting system. If something truly crazy and totalitarian happens to an American citizen, our media is supposed to take an interest and alert the rest of the country so they know what's going on. So they can say, whoa. I may not like Tara Reid, and I don't agree with her or whatever, but you can't do that. You can't arrest someone for no crime or for complaining about the president? Has anyone from the New York Times called you?
No.
Or Politico?
No.
The Daily Beast to say, just tell us what's happened with you.
Those, no, of course not. They only do hit pieces. And they're working for the empire. There's no question. They're just working for the, as proxies to the U.S. government. I mean, I think, some of the reporting that Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger have been doing has been really valuable.
Yes.
because they've been showing how there's think tanks, actual think tanks that basically put out articles to these, and then they reprint them. They don't even change them that much. So these are planted articles. Like there was all kinds of lies told about me, that I lied about my education. Now, I never lied about my education, that I defected to Russia. I didn't defect to Russia. I was threatened with my life and my family, and I didn't want my family harmed. I didn't want to be at risk of being put in a cage. And I can't tell you what that conversation was like with my daughter, that it was hard.
Have you seen her?
No.
Why?
I can't. Under political asylum, I can't leave the borders of Russia because, I'm under the protection. And to be frank, I don't know when I can ever go back to the U.S. I don't know when there's a safe path.
But what have you done?
In their eyes, I've committed some sort of crime, and I haven't done anything. And that's the thing. I've never committed a crime. I'm not a traitor. I'm not a spy for Russia. I don't have tons of resources. I don't have a PR team. I just told the truth about Joe Biden. I told the truth about what he did to me, and I told the truth about the corruption. And I wouldn't be quiet about it. Kelly gave me a platform a couple of times. Of course, you have, other than that, independent media, even the lefties, even though the Me Too reporters, silence. You don't see any Me Too reporters coming and telling my story, do you? Never once. They protect Biden. This is all about catch and kill. And if you recall, I went to Time's Up for help, right? Time's Up. Roberta Kaplan, who just represented Eugene Carroll. Roberta Kaplan had to resign from Time's Up because she was smearing me and the Cuomo, survivors, the people that talked about Cuomo. And because she did that, she had to resign. Time's Up was dismantled. And she went on to represent, Eugene Carroll. And Eugene Carroll publicly said that she was going to now support Biden and give him money. It's unbelievable.
It's totally evil. It's completely evil.
It is evil.
Where does it, I just can't get past this question, and I don't want to upset you, but of your daughter. I mean, you have a child in the United States.
Yeah. That's been hard. I missed her graduation. She got her master's. They went after her, actually, while I was here in Russia. The first month I was here, a bunch of Democratic troll farms or whatever doxed her photo, her work address, tried to get her fired. She was interning as a therapist. She's a therapist with children. She works with play therapy with children who've been traumatized. And they tried to get her fired, and they were saying it out loud and calling the work. But luckily, my daughter's work is, not interested in those kinds of, smears. So my daughter's fine. But having her face plastered everywhere because she's associated with me. My horse was almost kidnapped. They literally came and took him almost on a trailer. And luckily the owners of the stable were there. So I'm getting these calls at 3 a.m. in Moscow that my horse is being loaded on a trailer by someone I don't know who's going to take him for Joe Biden. That was what they were saying. They were taking him for Joe. So luckily he's safe. But I mean, it's been sort of relentless. It's been, and I know public figures, I don't consider myself a public figure, but other public figures do get harassed like that. But when you're a regular citizen like I am, it's really daunting, especially if we don't have the resources to protect yourself, right? And which I didn't.
Do you expect you'll be able to see your daughter anytime soon?
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable putting her in, the spotlight again. She's about in, the spotlight again. She's about to get married.
Can you go to the wedding?
I can't go to the wedding. And, I'm upset. But, and I don't want to be a victim here. I'm angry. And I want Joe Biden to be held accountable. He's taken years of my life. He's destroyed it 3 times over. And I'm going to continue to fight.
Tara Reid, thank you very much for talking to us.